This picture would have been taken around July, August time 2010, just before the bridge was removed. You can see all the foliage has been taken down and markings here for the engineers to take the brickwork out in several stages safely. This is the same spot today.
As we step out the road so we don't get killed, if I walk forward, you can see some of the brickwork literally across the road from us now is still there in situ. And in the distance, you can see the bridge for the Midland Main Line. And this is Andy standing actually on the bridge, which is obviously gone. We're now at the ground level. And as he pulls the picture away, there's the Midland Main Line bridge in the distance. And what is left of the bridge is there. Just a little bit of brickwork that everybody walks past and nobody notices.
This is the abutment of bridge number 30, and this is basically all that is left. But quite clearly, you can actually see the blue brick that they used to face all the bridges and tunnels embankments with. Blue brick is a much harder wearing brick. It's been fired for a lot longer. It was only used as a fascia, but as you can see, this particular part of the bridge is 170, 180 years old and is almost as good as the day it was put in. If Gavin can raise up just a little bit, this is the part of the retaining wall which held up the embankment between bridge number 30 and bridge number 29. This picture was taken around 1980 and shows quite clearly a class 47 diesel with the oil train behind it. Dunstable had an oil depot as well as cement works, and after the closure of the railway line in 1965, this part of the track still had to remain open because obviously how else would you get oil and cement out of the works? If we go pan round, this is roughly the same spot today.
So we've got a little bit more of the retaining wall, a bit more blue brick above it, as you can see, heading towards bridge 29.
This is now bridge 29. Unfortunately, we can't stand in exactly the same location because the embankment has all been taken out and is now on a much lower level. But you can see the bridge actually had 5 roads. The 2 roads on the extreme right went into the massive great warehouse that was there, built the London North Eastern Railway. This is the entrance to what was known as Luton Yard. The bridge itself was taken down in 2010, 2011 to build a misguided busway. The same spot roughly now.
Here we see bridge number 29 as clearly marked out, and it would have gone across just in front of us along with a little pedestrian tunnel.
This was taken around 1970-71 because the building just behind the bridge is all gone. This is a picture taken from the other side of the bridge. This was taken from one of the buildings looking down onto the railway line, the bridge and the road below. Quite clearly you can see there the pedestrian tunnel that was built there, which part of it is still in situ today. Just in top here you can see the lorries. Well, the track had already been lifted by this time, but this was one of the 2 roads that went into the massive great warehouse there. As you can see by the bridge, it was actually 5 roads. It was a very wide bridge.
Now this little tunnel here, I can remember my mum telling me, "No, we don't walk through there, it's not very safe." Whether that was true or not, I don't know. But they've boarded it up, what's left of it, and filled it in. And somebody's put a little bit of graffiti on there, but hey, there we are. Let's see if I can light it up a little bit. There we go. Bit of lightening up for you. So there we go. That's where it was. And imagine the bridge just being up here.
As I say, the roadway, which has actually been risen, actually ducked down.
Yes, and went under the bridge.
Again, this is the picture taken in 1991. You can see the warehouse at the time was still in situ and complete, and 2 tracks ran through. Again, we can't exactly stand in the same place, although same position, same location, but we're a bit lower because they've taken the embankment out.
To the right-ish, we think where these new houses are, stroke apartments, we think that's where the warehouse would have stood.
Just before we get into Luton Bute Street station itself, we come to Luton Yard. Luton Yard is where the big London and North Eastern warehouse was, and as you can see in this picture, there was a signal box and an engine shed. On top of the engine shed, you can see the big water tank where locos will fill up with water, and where I point, just behind the signal box, you can see the workman's hut. This is an ordnance survey map from 1960, quite clearly showing the 5-road bridge that went across Guildford Street, the water tank, the signal box, and subsequent buildings behind. So we're standing roughly about here. You can see the extensive track work coming into the goods shed itself and just protruding out the back end. The other side of the footbridge is the station we're about to come into, but you can see here extensive yards that were used very, very heavily up until about 1960-61. This picture was taken around January, February time 1960, and you can see the extensive warehouse that was here that went all the way along virtually to Guildford Street Bridge. You can see there's coal sidings and goods on the right hand side, the 2 main lines that actually come in, and the line here was a goods line which they used to use goods for. This picture would have been taken on the old footbridge, which is now long gone. Roughly the same spot now.
And we see the buildings have been built in the same sort of direction. So this photograph was taken in 1914. Look at that, it's fantastic. You can see the warehouse in use, and the horse and carts or drays are loading up all different types of produce. We're standing the other side of the footbridge. You can just see the footbridge in the distance just there.
We are now here at the entrance of what was Luton Bute Street station. Facing us is the Luton Central station on the Midland, Luton Borough Council have kindly erected a nice map showing the busway and the area we are just walking to. This is where we are at present. This was called the Midland Railway because it come from the Midlands, Sheffield, down through Luton into London St Pancras Station. This station was built 8 years after Luton Bute Street Station. This was a direct link into London and become very popular with commuters. Here you can see the walk we've already done from Luton Town Football Ground along the old track bed, which is now the guided busway, over the bridges and into Luton Bute Street Station. The line then passed Bute Street Station, over Hitchin Road, past Power Court and under Crawley Green Road. The track then continued down past Hayward Tylers and come onto the main Kimpton Road. Many years ago there was a bridge here which we will talk about on our next video.
And this map's really good because it actually starts where we filmed from part 4 of this video back at Luton Town Football Ground. And what is really interesting is that we're trying to get this video completed as soon as we can because they're playing against one of the minions in the Premier League this day. In fact, they're playing Liverpool Football Club. So we want to get out of this area as soon as we can before the local fans turn up.
We have now climbed the stairs to the entrance to what is the Luton Midland Railway Station. This set of stairways was replacing the original footbridge that crossed both tracks. This isn't really part of our walk, but as we are at Luton Railway Station, I'll say a few words about it. This is a 1930s Art Deco building that replaced the original wood and brick structure. As this is a central hub, the central hallway, the original footstep where that lady is going now goes to platforms 1 and 2. They used to be platforms 3 and 4 many years ago. And just down here is the steps going down to platform 3 and 4, which again used to be platforms 1 and 2. This is the original 1930s footbridge which takes pedestrians from the original booking hall over to platforms 1 and 2. On my left you can see the new road and the car park built above it. This was built over what was the original Midland goods and warehouse. This was a very large building because the amount of goods coming into Luton. Just a bit further down on the line there is the points that goes off to the left into what was Crescent Road sidings, where there was an enormous freight and goods depot. In a small village or in a small town, you had various people that were very well respected. The vicar was always well respected. The doctor, your local MP, and also the station master. They were almost demigods. People looked up to them and respected them. And here you can see, this is the original Midland Station Master's house. You can see by the size of it how well respected, and the railway itself knew that a station master had a very, very important role, not just for the railways, but for the local area as well.
Bit of a big house, isn't it, eh?
Oh, it was enormous. I dare say this bit at the back end is...
yeah, there's obviously an extension, but this is the building.
But obviously this is now private offices.
He's in a good location because just opposite him is this lovely little facility, which I'm sure he never ventured into.
Probably not. This is a picture of the sign outside the pub. The Midland always had crimson red locos. I'm not exactly sure what this loco is, but I believe this is either a Johnson's or a Dealey 240 locomotive.
No, we're sure some of you might know which one it is if we're wrong, but there's the Railway Tavern. It doesn't look like it's open at this time of the morning, so we shan't venture in. But there's the The station master's house is just literally opposite. So, interesting.
Before we go to Luton Bute Street station, we come to the new footbridge that crosses the track into Luton Midland Road station. Each bridge and tunnel up and down the country has a unique number. The number sequence starts in London on St Pancras station and this particular line and goes all the way up to Sheffield. This is bridge number 135, which replaced the original lattice girder bridge that ran from Hightown to Bute Street station. This is a little surprise that we've only just come across now. You can see quite clearly there's a little bit of concrete which would have been the entrance to the original footbridge and the replaced footbridge they did in the 1980s. It's still evident now on the edge of the building here.
As you went up the stairs, you would have then turned right into the corrugated footway and headed towards where we filmed a few moments ago.
This is very interesting because we saw the red of what was the Midland Railway. Now we've come down to a pub called the Great Northern, showing you the green of a Great Northern locomotive. The Great Northern Railway was the first railway in Luton were actually built Bute Street Railway Station before it became the London North Eastern and later British Rail. This just typifies what Luton was about many, many years ago. Luton was a very, very important town. In fact, the first industrial town north of London. And just looking at the brickwork, the deco here, it just goes to show how much money was spent when they made these buildings. No expense spared because money was coming into Luton in bucket loads. The industry there was in Luton. Before Vauxhall come here, you had the hat factories, you had Skethco's, you had Hayward Tylers. They were all manufacturers.
Just wanted to pan round because you can see the Luton Arndale ahead of us. The Great Northern pub. And of course, one of the reasons Luton was doing so well was its history of hat making, hence there's a hat factory cafe. As we pan round even more, this is the location of the entrance to the footbridge, which is just left of us.
I'd just say now, this is actually called Bute Street, hence the name, Bute Street Station. And as my colleague just said, you've got the Arndale Centre there. Well, before that was built, you could see right through to the town centre.
And I took footage of the George Street Town Hall. As we walk towards this area here, we're heading towards the Bute Street station, and later on this became a bus station, which there's not very much evidence of it, which isn't, you know, too bad a thing really.
Oh, it was a very dark and dingy place. A lot of, shall we say, undesirables made it their home.
Yeah, it was a roofed building, of course, and all that remains is the back wall of it and this left wall to our side here. And as we head towards here, we're actually now heading into almost Bute Street Station. There's a little car park in front of it. Is the Bute Street Station car park.
This is the entrance to what was the original station at Luton Bute Street. This station was the first station here, built in 1858. The station itself opened on the 3rd of May 1858 and it would become a public holiday in Luton. Such was the extent that Luton desperately wanted a railway line. When it finally arrived, it was an enormous occasion for the town. In fact, there's stories of the first train that went from Luton up to Dunstable had to be a double-headed train with 20 coaches behind it. It was so full, I understand there was even people sitting on the roof. This is the same location today.
Now, just to give you a bit of background to this location, so this was the 1970s bus station, And if you look halfway up the wall, that's the level that we would have been at. We've been dug out and we're actually lower, standing lower to the station entrance that you just saw. So all of this has been excavated out and we're actually lower than we were. This warehouse is in many of the photographs that we've got, and on the top it still says Brown Bros. We'll be able to show that in a few moments. It's obviously become something else now. And as we look to the left, there's also another warehouse that also shows in the pictures. So this landscape hasn't changed at all. So Andy, this word Bute, it keeps popping up. I have no idea where it comes from. It's not a word I'd use very much. Where's it come from?
Well, the word Bute actually comes from a Marquis of Bute, who was a very rich and influential landowner who actually built Luton Hoo.
Well, I didn't know that. That explains why that name Bute is all over Luton.
And other parts of Britain. There's actually a Bute Street in Wales. Cardiff, I believe.
I have to say, I mean, it is a strange word. Every time I type it in, I have to check the spelling. B-U-T-E. Bute.
This picture was taken on Saturday the 24th of April 1965. Above the logo you can see the original lattice footbridge that went across Bute Street into Luton Midland. Underneath is a class 31 loco or brush type 2 heading out of Luton towards Dunstable. The head code reads the last Skinpot flyer, as this was the last day of passenger trains running on the branch line. This is the view from the same spot today. This is the picture I took of the railway line on the 28th of December 1991. You can see quite clearly the double track which had now been mothballed, as there was no need for the railways anymore, as the cement works and the oil depot had closed. On the right you can see the car park that was built above the bus station in the 1970s. It remained in situ until the 1990s, maybe early 2000s. This is a photo of a Class 105 DMU coming in the down line from Welwyn Garden City, pulling into Luton Bute Street station, heading towards Dunstable. On the left hand side of the picture you can see platforms 2 and 3 on the island platform. The other track you can see is the up line from Dunstable to Welwyn Garden City. This picture quite clearly shows the ladies and gentlemen's waiting rooms. Okay, this photograph is taken looking the other way, as a Class 31, or as it was known then, D5647, has brought its wagons to a halt beside the island platform on the 19th of August 1961. The guard is checking his train, which still includes some wooden-bodied wagons. By this time, sections of the roof awning had been removed from the platform. This is quite clearly taken in the same spot today. As I zoom down, you can see the clock on the original Midland station. Another picture of the station taken from the footbridge, which is a little bit back to where we are now. This again was another photograph taken by my good friend and much lamented Alex Swain. All four lines were occupied in August 1963. A freight train being in the sidings and a set of quad arc coaches stood alongside the northern platform. Beside the platform, two Craven DMUs waited before setting off in opposite directions. You can see quite clearly here on platform 1 the train to Dunstable, platform 2 the train heading towards Welwyn Garden City and Hatfield. Once again, I'm beholden on Jeff and Sue Woodward for allowing us to use the material in the making of this video. This picture was taken from the lattice footbridge at the turn of the last century, the beginning of the 1900s. This was the Edwardian period. You can see from the clothes the ladies were wearing long dresses and the gentlemen were wearing cloth caps, or, as Luton became known for, the straw boater. In the background you can see the Midland Road goods shed with lots and lots of wagons, as Luton was a very important industrial town. Now all is left is the council car park, which has completely dominated the skyline. This is now the location of Luton Bute Street station, completely closed off to the public, and no doubt one day in the future will probably be built on. In front of us now would have been the station building itself and the two platforms. Platform 1 heading towards Dunstable, 2 would have headed towards Harpenden. As we pan around a bit further, you can see in the distance where the signal box would have been and the bridge. Here we are at the other end of the car park, just by bridge number 26, Hitchin Road. This bridge was brick abutment with plate girder. You can see quite clearly on top of the bridge there's a derailed Class 08 locomotive. Even in 1960, to get this loco re-railed, it meant that the bridge and the road had to be closed off. You can just see a policeman underneath. This bridge was removed in 2011 as part of the new busway. On the right hand side you can still see the brick abutment, but on the left hand has been completely removed.
And in the background is the Midland Bridge to St Pancras. On the left you can see the wall. In 1978 this is what you would have seen. Decided to come down beneath what's left of the bridge, and as you can see it's a two-bedded track, and you just about make that out with the distance there. Not much left of the bridge, but I'm not going to run across the road just yet because I'll just absolutely be underneath the vehicle. But there's still signage on the bridge, which there has to be. It's still got its signage. There we go. Thanks, Andy.
And not only that, you can still see the blue brick that they were faced with. These bridges were built to last. This has been here, coming on now for 180 years, and it's still as good now as it was when it was first built.
So in 2010 this bridge was taken down, some 180 years old, and this is the before shot
this is the after shot, so this is what's left of it now. This picture was taken around 1960, and the photographer was popping his head out the window here and is facing towards Bute Street station. You can see the 1958 signal box in the distance that replaced the original wooden structure that nearly fell down, and in fact there's photographs of it being held up with wooden planks. To the left of the photo you can see Brown Boss, which we showed you earlier. Now, although we're not standing on the track bed, because obviously we can't because of the bridge that is now gone, this gives you an idea of what it would look like in the 1960s.
We just see Brown Boss over the back there that's in the picture. We've made our way up onto what's left of the embankment, and it is quite overgrown, but Andy's cunning eye has discovered a chair. He'll tell you about it.
Chairs were the things that they used to put on the sleepers. So you can imagine, longitudinally, that would have been a massive wooden sleeper. A sleeper is something that the chairs went on. It would have been bolted down with the bolts, and the rail went through the middle there. And to make sure it's securely held, there would have been a block of wood put in around here between the rail and the chair itself. And every now and then, track gangs used to go along and just knock the wooden back in to make sure that the gauge of the track remained the same.
So we're in a position now where we're filming what is the only remaining piece of track for the whole of this line. We've climbed up onto the embankment, and we've also found a sleeper, and it's in situ. Other individuals have been staying around here and left quite a bit of mess, but here's the rail. You can see instead of it being a wooden block now, it's now a metal one, holding the rail itself in place, and the sleeper itself has cracked, probably due to fatigue or old age, clearly, as the rail goes along heading towards the next station. But it's not looking good through there.
No.
Lots of debris. We've done a little bit of clearing. It's not great. We've done what we can, and we've found something of very good interest. And it's going to explain it to you as well as we can, bearing in mind that we're actually stood in what could only be classed as somebody's makeshift camp over many, many years. Over to you, Andy.
What we have here is what they call a fish plate. Basically, it's where two pieces of rail were joined together. This is actually in very, very good condition. You can see quite clearly you have two bolts on one rail, two bolts on the other. They were jammed together by two plates, one this side and one this side. They were called fish plates and bolted together, and the other side are still the bolts in incredibly brilliant condition. As you may or may not know, when you were younger, you could hear trains in the background going clickety-click, clickety-clack, clickety-click. This is exactly what they were going over. They were going over the rail joint. Some you don't hear these days because all the track is welded rail. These sections of track were anything between 40, 50 or 60 yards long. So 40, 50 or 64 yards up the line, there would have been another set of fish plates.
And as you know, when you're building little railway sets, you use the fish plates to join the track together.
Exactly in the same way.
We apologise for the mess. We would have cleared more of it if we could, but we were not really ready for the condition of what we found. You can see the opposing line, track line there, and heading underneath the bush, the line heads towards the bridge that we filmed a few moments ago. Just a little bit more through towards the bridge. We tried to walk along there, but it's just too thick. Individuals have been taking up space up here and leaving some debris.
This is a wonderful picture taken in colour on top of what can only be a signal gantry. It's showing quite clearly the Midland main line. To the right, the carriage sidings and the track that went along the branch line towards Harpenden. In the distance you can see bridge number 25, Crawley Green Road, which is still in situ now, although it has changed a little bit over the years. To the extreme right on this picture you can see what used to be Ponswick Road. It used to be a road of terraced houses, a lot of whom used to work at the power station, which would have been just over here on the extreme right, but not in the picture. But this is a lovely picture because it just shows you the extent of the railways that used to be here. And remembering, this was just a branch line. Over the other side, on the left-hand side of the picture, you can see the extensive marshalling yard, which used to be served by the Midland Railway. You can see by the amount of box vans there, the amount of goods that used to come in and out of Luton. Incredible amount of volume of traffic. I'm afraid all gone.
So it's difficult to pan it because the sun's out, but that's approximately where we were, but up on top, high up, maybe on some sort of gantry or something, looking over.
This is the 1960 Ordnance Survey map of Luton, and just by looking at this section here you can see the amount of track work there is. We are standing roughly where the signal post was at the carriage sidings that went round to a dead end there. The track continued round here and continued on to Harpenden and then Wheat Hampstead, Ayot, Welwyn Garden City and on to Hatfield. But here you can quite see extensively the coal sidings of Power Court. Power Court was the eminent electrical supply for Luton and a surrounding area for many years until the national grid came in the late 50s. Just round here you can see Church Street, and the church is just off the map here. These cooling towers you could see for miles around and were a prominent feature of Luton for many years. Again on the map you can see Ponswick Road, which I already said a lot of these people used to work for the power station, and in fact I've got pictures and I do remember going over this little footbridge here, which I have got pictures of, which we will show on the next video. But if Gavin can pan round we can then slowly see the church in the distance.
So we would have had track here,
Yeah.
sidings, the branch line track was underneath this area here where we've just filmed. We're now at the correct level because the track would have come down.
As we step through into the undergrowth where the track was, of course it's been lifted now. To the right is where we filmed earlier, where the remaining pieces of rail are. We head towards Power Court, which we hope soon will be a football ground for Luton Town Football Club. And in the distance there you can just see St Mary's Church, which is really significant for Luton. In fact, Queen Elizabeth II visited it many times. So this whole area will be redeveloped. And it was the power station.
Well, thank you very much for watching what is now part 5 of our Dunstable to Luton Railway. and we hope you've enjoyed it. We've certainly enjoyed it. It's took us a long time to get this together, but there's more to come.
Yeah, well, I'll apologise for my not getting my act together. Obviously, there's been a lot going on, work-wise, holidays, families. I've just become a grandfather for the first time. So I'll apologise for the delay and how long this has been taking. But I really, really enjoy these walks. I hope you do. And one last word from me. Andy Ward, News at 10, the old Bute Street railway station in Luton.
Take care, be safe, and we can't wait to show you the next one, which is already in production.
Absolutely. Again, this is the picture taken in I've forgotten.
It's okay.
Oh yes, these houses were actually built where their warehouse was.
Yeah.
You can actually see some of the original wall that was there to hold up. No, it wouldn't have been there, would it? No, sorry, cut that out completely.
Yeah, we're going to cut that out completely.
Because that wall would not have been there.
No wall, that's it. Yeah, that's right.
Shunters, people like...
We got killed. We're dead again. The bus driver does no idea what we're filming. Okay, we're back. Okay. We're back.
Right.
The photo's going to get wet.
Yeah, it is. Hang on. As Luton, wooden structure.
Wooden structure. Yeah, the good thing is we're also by the airport as well. So we got planes taken off. So we're trying to phase them out as well. Right. Okay. So we're going to continue. And in the background, you can see the midline.
Which is stop.
Not 25.
Crawley. It is 25. Is it Crawley Green Road?
Must be, yeah. It is.
Well, I'll have to also show you that as well, but yeah. we'll talk about it another time. But yeah, so from Bridge 25.
Right, coming back in, just wait, pause. Give it a couple of seconds while I set up again.
Sorry, mate, I couldn't remember the name.
We're good. Okay, go for it.
You can see on the right-hand side, you can see the Crawley Green.
Right-hand side?
Over here.
Left-hand side.
Right. So on the left-hand side, you can see the Crawley Green. It's not a marshalling yard. It's a, well, it is a marshalling yard, isn't it? Because look at the
yeah.
box fans.
Okay.
Okay. So right.